Hello, hello, hello. All right, so we are on part 3 of our video series, Where Did You Go? And we have started here with our container. This is a container that in the beginning represented us. We were full of clear water sent straight from above, representing a piece of the ocean, a piece of love by which we were created from. But life starts to dish us out a few different things, and before you know it, we start to have a container that is full of muck. So the question is, what do we do when we have discovered that we don't know who we are anymore? My name is Angela Miller. I'm an emotional health coach, and I help people feel their way to healing so that they can master their emotions and find the freedom that we all deserve. So we're going to kind of review what we went over yesterday. And yesterday what we did was we pulled out the big trauma rocks, the big trauma things that lay inside of our container. I find that that is the best way. Do you have to? Eventually, yes, you're going to have to do this. I didn't do this right away in the beginning. I only did work on some of them, not all of them. And so as a result, even though I had started to pull out some of these other things, I was still getting very weighed down because I had a very big one still left within me that I needed to resolve. And once I did, I started to notice that the freedom really started to happen a lot faster. So number one, the first thing you need to do is simply identify the major traumas in your life and figure out if you have actually processed through them. Did you get help? Did you join a support group? Did you go to therapy over it? Did you work through it? Because if you can work through those big things, then it will be a lot easier to start to work through these other smaller things that we have added that are often associated with those big traumas. There's lots of emotions, there's lots of beliefs, there's lots of stories that are associated with those big traumas in our life. So this will pull out a lot more weight if we start there. So I always recommend you start there. If you're not ready to start there, that's okay too. You will get ready, and sometimes you have to do the work of the smaller areas in order to be able to be ready to deal with these big traumas that are really weighing you down. So now we're going to come in and we're going to talk about these, what the golf balls represent. And the golf balls were put in here. They represent our relationships, our roles. Okay, so now we become very over-identified with our roles in life. And the way I like to do this and the way I like to be able to kind of map it out is what I do is I just do a little timeline, and I take it from birth until where at your age now, and I kind of just draw a line. Really, it's not a line. Really, it's a bunch of dots representing moments and experiences of your life. But for simplicity's sake, you just make a timeline and you make little times, little dashes of when roles started for you. So for example, when you're first born, you're a daughter, right? And then you become a teenager, you become a student, you become a wife, you become a mom. I joined the military, so I became a military member. You become a college student, you become, whatever that is. Maybe you join a religion and you become Christian, or you become a Buddha. So you timeline your story from the very beginning all the way to where you are now, your age now. And you just look at all of these roles that you've carried in your life, and you look at the ones that you've let go of easily. Okay, that you're not holding on to with all of your might. For example, when I got out of the military, it wasn't really something that I identified with or held strongly as who I was. So I was able to very easily let that identity, that role go. It didn't hold me back. I've met other people who they, look back at that and they think that was the best time of their life. They were the proudest then. They felt the most purpose driven then, and they kind of hold on to that identity and, they wear it with pride, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that they are still stuck back there instead of being here where they are now. So that's what you want to do in order to be able to get through these roles and start to piece them out. And so then after you've got this timeline and you've seen all these roles that you've played throughout your life, then you'll be able to go, okay, this one I really, really identify with. For me, that would be mothering. Being a mother is one that I very, very am strongly attached to. Still working on letting go of those strings. And a lot of that was related to that trauma that I had when I was 18. And so that kind of definitely helped seed that mother identity for me to feel so strongly, because I wanted to rescue and protect my children. So there's others like being a Christian that you could very much, people get really absorbed into that. And there's nothing wrong with this, okay? There's nothing wrong with being passionate about these roles that we have taken on and that we have responsibility for, but we become so attached to them and so overly identified that if something were to happen, for example, when my divorce was happening and my kids were, my youngest son was I was in a custody battle with my ex-husband, and that I was so identified with being a mother, and it was getting ripped away from me. My kids were, not always with me anymore, and I wasn't always there to protect them anymore. And as a result, it was extremely painful because it wasn't just that I was in a set of circumstances, I was also having this attachment and this identity of who I was and what my purpose on earth was ripped away from me. And so it made it all very, very difficult. So you just simply look through that timeline and you should be able to tell which roles are the strongest for you, which ones you really, really hold on to. Perhaps you're a husband who so values protecting and taking care of his family. There's all sorts of different roles we play. There's in our career, our jobs, I'm a nurse also. Not one I've overly attached myself to, one I am very passionate about. But if something were to happen where I would not be able to play that role anymore, I would be okay. All right. So the question you ask yourself is, if this role were to all of a sudden not be there anymore, what would it do to me? Okay. So that's a good way to be able to know just how attached you are and just how you identify with it. And then what I like to do after that is I like to go down and I like to list the emotions that are attached to that role that I've hung on to. And you can get emotion wheels that are on the internet. In the next video will show you the emotion box that I created so that I just go through and I pick them out. Now, you don't have to do, the emotion boxes and these emotion wheels are generally negative emotions, not disempowering emotions. You can also put positive emotions because those play into it. The roles that give us the most joy, are obviously going to be ones that we're going to really hold on to and identify with. So basically that's how you do it. You make that timeline. You timeline your life out from the time you were born all the way to where you are now. You write down the roles that you've played all throughout your life, and then you identify the ones that would have to go into this jar. All right, the ones that you're just so attached to that if something happened to, that it would be crushing to your soul. All right, and then that's how you know which one of these golf balls would go into your jar, okay, and start to weigh you down. And then you start to associate the emotions that go along with these. And so you'll start to, what's going to happen is we're going to start to see a pattern. That's what we're going to start looking for. And that's the emotions that we've buried and that we really need to bring to the surface so that we can stop attracting the things in our life that are going to basically bring those emotions back to the forefront. All right, so we will talk more about this tomorrow, and thanks for listening, everybody. Until then.